January 15th, 2026, Happy New Year to order. Are we compliant with the open meetings law?
We are.
Any communications?
I have a few, if I may.
And I do too.
All right, great. Should I go first?
Yes.
Just
I photos.
just a few things. On January 26th, we have the Beyond Park neighborhood construction meeting. So everybody in that area has been sent a letter, invite them to a public meeting at the Senior Center Annex, and we'll go through the project, answer any questions that they may have, and then also kind of give them our contact information along with the engineers to make sure that they're in the loop with what's going on in their neighborhood this summer. We look to bid that project in early February, so things are really progressing. We looked at that last time we met with sidewalks and things like that, so we're progressing the design to get to bidding. The Highway 51 project for next year, so that's the project from Harrison to B, so not the current project. Initially was supposed to be done under traffic, so they would essentially do one half and then leave the other half under traffic or available for traffic. I was informed that a portion from Harrison to Rowe will need to be completely shut down, so that has another level of complexity and of course disruption for our residents.
Where's Rowe?
Kind of over by Subway, across to the south
Okay.
of 51.
I know,
by
yeah,
Subway.
okay.
Yeah. So essentially there's some deep sanitary sewer that they need to get to, and the trenching is such that it's going to extend into the far lane, so they can't do it under traffic, which is unfortunate, but we'll just have to get through that. And it's a 3 to 4 week shutdown. That coupled with the shutdown that's coming also around the wall on 51 to finish that. So again, there's going to be some disruption, but I'll keep this group and the public as informed as we can as we know more.
Will the wall be a full?
So
It will.
yeah, because they're going to have to bring a crane back
Yeah.
in and set the wall. That'd be another couple months to do that. And then also the concrete has to get finished on the north side. If you notice, there's asphalt on the north side.
And Christina and I get to choose the color.
Gladly. You heard it. So.
I've been shocked already.
Yeah. So just keeping you guys up to date on that. I'll give you updates as I hear them as we go forward. And we've already know it's going to be spring, so I just want to make sure that you guys are informed of what's going on, and we'll do the same for the public. And just be careful on how we release things. We want to make sure that we have good confidence in our information before we put it out there.
Right.
Also,
Citizens just send you hate mail.
they're, to be honest, they've all been pretty good, and we try to work with our stakeholders, especially those on the projects that are the most affected, and we invite them to every other week we have a meeting that they're invited to answer questions from the DOT or us on the local side. So we did just hire a parks equipment operator / ecologist, so we hired them. They accepted the offer yesterday, so that's a good thing.
Congrats.
Yeah, thanks. And then next week we interview for 2 open streets positions. That'll be next Tuesday. We got a pretty decent pool to choose from, so hopefully we can find 2 good candidates to bring on board. If we don't, we'll go back out. So we want to hire good people that are good operators, but also good people to join the group. So, yeah. That's all I got, Kay.
So I have a sign update. The senior center sign at night is disgusting.
Disgusting, like.
It's so dirty inside.
Oh.
It's awful.
Yeah. Can you send that to me?
Yeah,
Just send
it's
me an
really
email.
bad.
Yeah,
So-
that's probably
Did you want to see it? I can see it.
Yeah,
that's probably a just a acrylic sign that goes with the top of like a light.
Yeah.
I'm sure those are bugs. So anytime you see stuff like that, just send me.
I just saw it this week, so yeah, here we go.
Yep, shoot me an email anytime. We'll get those types of things taken care of.
Okay, next is any changes to the minutes of the November 20th.
Motion to approve minutes.
Second?
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The minutes have been approved. Old business, update on the land suitability proposed ordinance.
So, yes, that's the one that, the tree advisory group, you just got it, this past Monday. So we did go through that ordinance that we had reviewed, last, time in November, if you recall. You told us to go back and kind of give our comments.
Right.
Essentially, we rewrote it, rewrote a different ordinance, that we are gonna pass on to the tree advisory group for them to take a look at from the tree perspective, get those comments back to us, and then we'll meet with the planning department and our city attorney just to make sure that there's adequate language in there and it meets their needs and are legal. Then we'll bring that back to this body to review the draft. So essentially, this is what it is. And what we did is we basically made it a conservation of natural features instead of land suitability. So really, we're looking at the features like trees or outcrops of, rock or some sort of the natural feature that we want to protect when it comes to development. And that's what this really speaks to versus kind of the vague land suitability ordinance that's currently on the books. Of course, we want to let Chris Pritchard, our planner, take a look at it and have her chime in. We're definitely not trying to steer the ship on that type of thing. But we feel that this kind of accomplishes the goal that was first brought up from the tree commission about a year ago, really, or last spring. And we feel like this better accomplishes that and kind of protects those assets when it comes to development. Anything that you?
It was, we didn't have a lot of time to go through it, but what I like is it defines what a heritage tree is. So there's like an educational piece to it and just brings in what normal forestry standards are and definitions.
Yep. And part of, our job too is to communicate to developers what the expectation is. If we kind of leave it vague or up to interpretation, chances are they're not going to give us what we're expecting. We can't hardly expect them to do something if we don't tell them.
Right.
So I feel like if we can tell them up front, they can also take a look at the project and say, hey, can I build this or not? If I can't touch these features, then maybe this project isn't going to work. Or when I do my design, these types of things will be incorporated into it and really can make a nice development that's a kind of cool thing for people to want to be a part of.
Have we checked that any language in that proposed ordinance has any contradiction with other ordinances, or are we waiting for Chris to go through that?
Yeah, that'll all be part of that. So I do have some other ordinances that it ties into. We definitely don't want to make things redundant or contradictory.
Yes.
Because that can create confusion and say, hey, you told me to do this over here, but now you want me to do this, and that can create frustration or potential litigation. So I do have some other ordinances that are in play that we need to kind of meld into.
So what's the kind of the timeline to get it enforced? And then how does that tie in with developers when they come to you with a proposal? When they probably want to break ground in late winter, early spring. It's too late for this year.
I mean, when it comes to development, it's kind of, it's sporadic when they come to the city and want to put together a development. It could happen tomorrow, or when it can happen in July. There is something on the books right now with the land suitability. I just think this further enforces what we're trying to do. And when the developers do come to the city, we meet as a team and we kind of look at the development and say, hey, we give them recommendations. Of course, the ordinance is kind of the local law, if you will. But we do give them recommendations. So if we saw something that was a part of it, like if they came to us tomorrow, and we saw something that was, like a oak savanna or something like that, we say we want to protect that. If they provided drawings that took that out, we would say, we really want you to consider, working around that or incorporating that into the design of the development.
John said he was meeting with someone, I think on Tuesday.
Yep.
For a parcel.
So, and keep in mind too that a lot of times we have people that come to the city with some ideas. It doesn't mean it's gonna, they're gonna break ground in 2 months. It could be years
Oh,
in the
okay.
making. We have some development on the east side that's been presented to us back in, I don't know, Tim, was it 2018, 2019, somewhere in there? And that's just kind of, sitting idle. So,
Okay.
some are more, gung ho than others. And some just kind of want to get the flavor of the city, kind of where we're at, or kind of keep it as a land bank type of thing. So, it's not a one size fits all when it comes to timing. I would say that, we don't want to sit on this, but we certainly want to step through this and make it right, so we're not redoing this every, couple
Yeah.
months,
Right.
or every year.
Right.
In any new ordinance, over time, you're gonna realize that there's things that, there's unintended consequences that we need to shore up or whatever, which is fine, but we wanna try to get it right, on the outset.
So this is going back to the tree committee, or tree committee still looking at it, and then it's gonna go through Chris to review, and then come back
Yep.
to this committee?
Yep.
So I'm probably gonna say it's gonna be March by the time we take a look at it. I don't wanna bring it back and waste your time until it's in, a good draft form.
And then we send it from here to planning commission to look
Uh,
at, or
I'll-
are we gonna try and go tree commission
yeah.
to planning commission to public works to common
Yeah.
council?
Great question. So connecting the dots, out of respect for the planning commission, I think that they should have a look at it too. I mean, obviously, they passed the land suitability, or recommended to council land suitability, so I don't wanna do anything
I know, it's
that
there.
circumvents their authority.
Yes.
So I just wanna make sure that, we're protecting our interests when it comes to the natural features, and also respecting that, they have a position here too, and they take that seriously.
Yeah, I would think that the tree group would have a recommendations after the next, in a
Mhm.
month after Denise was gone.
Yep.
She's gone, so I'm sure she'll
Yep.
tackle it as soon as she gets back this
Right,
week.
and
So-
and John sent this out, right?
Yep, yep.
So you guys take a look at,
Mhm.
so, in all reality, I'm gonna guess they'll be back here in March.
Okay. So we're going planning commission first. So you're saying tree commission's
Well,
gonna send it to planning commission next
No,
month,
no,
or
no.
you wanna?
Nope, so I think what will happen is tree commission in the first meeting, that second Monday in February, they'll take a look at it, get their recommendations back to us. We'll take a look at it internally as staff with Chris and planning. And then I think we should take a look at it here to make sure it meets our needs when it comes to like trees and those other natural features. Then make our recommendation to the planning commission, who would then kind of make the final edits to that and take it to council. Because if we recommend to council, that really kind of circumvents the process. Whereas if we recommend it to the planning commission, then they recommend it to council for approval. That's kind of more in line with giving them the authority from like a development standpoint. Unless you guys see it
Nope.
differently.
Sounds like a plan to me.
Okay.
Sounds like a good path.
All right. Yeah.
Right?
All right.
New business, the annual review of pricing for burial services at Riverside, right? This is an
Yes.
annual?
Yes, so,
Do we have the traditional, because they've upped this, ever since I've been on this committee, they have upped it every year.
every year, it's an annual thing, and, why am I not able to just?
Because I understand that we're kind of stuck.
Yeah,
With basically being like, cool, thanks, and we accept. But I
Yeah.
just out of curiosity would be very interested to see what the last 4 years.
we can provide that, because every year we put this together. If you look at it this year, so the red is the increase. So keep in mind, this is not an increase that the city incurs. These are all costs that are passed on to those that are burying a loved one. Again, we gotta look out for their best interest and be an advocate for them, to get the best price we can. Unfortunately, there's not a ton of grave diggers, if you will, out there. I think what we can do, though, is, over the course of this year, I recommend that you guys approve this. We don't really have much of a choice at this point. I don't like being in that position, we don't have much of a choice. But I think we've done this maybe 5 or 6 years ago, where we go out and kind of solicit for other opportunities or other companies that do this type of thing, just to make sure that, we're we're paying a fair price, or if there is some competition out there that we, we follow our purchasing policies too and solicit for those types of bids.
Have you ever compared the fees to like Oregon or
Yeah.
McFarland?
Yeah, and that's what we did, I'll look back and get the exact year, but I'll re-up that. What we'll do is we'll go out again and see what other people are paying. It's not just other municipalities, because there's other, Lutheran, they have the cemetery, and so it's not just municipalities that own cemeteries. We're just, lucky enough to do it, but.
So is all this work contracted out through a third party?
Correct.
So this is just basically the cost that the
Correct.
city has to pay?
Correct, and then we.
The individual.
The individual.
Or
So we
Yeah.
we pay them, we pass the cost on
Right.
to our customers, if you will.
Right,
So we don't make a dime off this, even administer it. It's just the cost of doing business to have a cemetery in the city.
How many plots are dug every year, or how many services? do you
It
do?
varies. I can get you
Guess?
that.
I'm just curious.
Say 20, 30.
Oh, wow.
Somewhere in there, but I can get you those numbers.
Yeah.
We don't have any lots for sale at Riverside Cemetery, but Wheeler Prairie, outside of town, we have some. We took on that cemetery when it was abandoned years ago.
and then, so there's no cost built in here for any, like you said, administrative pass-through or anything? So
No.
it's just straight up
Yep.
exactly what the cost is?
Exactly.
with the
So,
contractor?
yep, exactly. And, it's just part of one of those civic duties that we do to, take care of. We do have perpetual care. So if we did have a lot or a grave to sell, like Wheeler Prairie, the cost is $525 to purchase the grave. And then we have a $400 perpetual care cost as well. So that perpetual care cost comes to the city to take care of these types of things into perpetuity.
Right.
So it's definitely not a moneymaker for the
Right.
city, and it's one of those civic things that we do.
I mean, I feel like it's not an outrageous cost. I mean,
Yeah.
the costs are what they are, but I certainly think it would be prudent in the future to, bid out and get a couple companies and just make it, keep our current contractor honest and making sure that they're
Yeah.
giving us the right price.
Yep. Agreed.
Or, well, giving the citizen, I mean, you don't know. the correct
Have there been
price.
any complaints?
No, and when we did this years ago, and I apologize for not having this here, but we were low, essentially. We were in good shape. So there's keep in mind, we're pretty close in proximity to Madison and in a bigger market, if you will. And it was towards $1,000, if I recall,
Back then.
back then.
Yeah.
And that was, I think it was pre-COVID type of thing. So,
I mean, trying to hit two birds with one stone, the sustainability committee at the Department of Administration, and we just did a big class on, what are these called? Tree pod burials, and we want more trees in town. Do we have more spaces for that?
So
Go add them with a tree and,
That'd be
So-
cool.
So there is, we don't have any space at Riverside. We do have some space at Wheeler Prairie. There's a lot of different options out there when it comes to burials. Like they have the columbarium, where it's kind of a combined burial type of site that takes less of a footprint. I'd imagine like the trees, you have to have some sort of spacing depending on the species. But I've seen those. Those are neat. You kind of essentially grow within the tree and the root structure and that type of thing. I'm not sure we have the real estate. We definitely don't have the real estate at Riverside. We'd essentially have to purchase land to do that type of thing. I don't know about people, just doing that on their own type of thing. Obviously, cremains are treated differently than full burials, from a pathogen standpoint. So they do treat those differently than a full burial. So essentially, we could, move cremains versus we can't dig up a person without having the state involved and getting permission and going through quite a lengthy process to do that. Whereas cremains are much different than full burials. Do you have any thoughts in mind or?
Well, I'm just, since Adam's the executor of my will,
No.
yeah, that's what I wrote in, I put the commander of the VFW as the
Yeah.
executor of my will, but I'd like to be put in a tree pod in the tree across from the Opera House where my building is, and,
Okay.
yeah.
That's changed.
I said that's
Oh, okay.
secondary,
So-
if the first option doesn't work out.
So in the public right of way?
Let the record
Oh,
reflect
Jordan.
that. I need a motion.
But I mean, I don't know what the footprint is on, so it's a tree, but you basically get buried under
Yeah,
a tree.
you can Google tree pod burial and they wrap you in with like a mini tree and then your body nutrients is
Oh,
the
cool.
feed to the tree.
But I wonder from like a spacing impact, that would probably be more of a footprint than cremated, but
Yeah.
well, probably even more than a
So-
grave.
So you have to take into account, the tree at maturity
Right.
and have that spacing. So you can't like put, 20 trees in close proximity. You gotta space them out according to the species and, and what, their tolerances are, but.
It might be a nice sustainable way that people might be willing to pay that cost to have
And
that.
then lower this price.
You can get more
Wrap
trees
them
and
up with a tree, get more trees.
essentially, these costs would, I will tell you too that there's much more cremations than full burials at this point.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh.
it's probably 60-40, whereas, years ago, it was probably, 75-25. It's, obviously it's more cost effective for cremations and in general. And some people are just, are leaning more towards that than others.
What's the possibility of looking into acquiring land for just a tree main, what do you call it, tree mains?
Tree pod.
Tree pod?
Tree pod burial.
Like just a whole lot of only tree pod burials? I don't know. Could be a cool sustainable option.
So we could look at some of the rules on that too, and maybe it's,
Something else for the tree.
Never heard of it.
yeah, and maybe there's other opportunities where you can be buried outside of a cemetery in a tree pod. Don't quote me on that, but we can look into that and see if that's something that, maybe it's not even a city thing. Maybe it's something that you can do on your own type of thing, on your own property. But I'll double check on that, because it has to be cremation though, because I think you're talking about, they would basically wrap you, without being
They get
cremated.
mummified with
Correct.
the tree roots, and then
Yeah.
you sustain the tree roots for the tree to grow. There's one in Verona. This is where some guy came from Verona and talked to us about it.
I know there's a green burial, is that part of his setup? I
Probably,
think that's
yeah.
probably the same place.
Mhm.
Is that something, as a committee, can we make a motion to like send it to the tree commission to explore? Or is
I
that
think-
something that we
I
explore?
think we could take a look at it and get some more information on it. We should do that as a future agenda item.
Yeah,
maybe.
yeah.
We can look into something like that and provide information on what that may look like, if you so choose.
As long as I claim.
In Mant
downtown.
Park, in Mant Park.
Yeah, except for the one space downtown.
Across the street from.
Yeah.
Yeah, we get to future agenda items, if you just wanna bring that up, we can certainly, I think, check that out.
Be an entertaining thing to do here.
I think it would be unique, and I think it would play to, I think, what our town, I think a lot of our citizens value that sustainability option.
Have it as an option on here.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me look into it, and I'll certainly bring that back.
Okay, well, I'll make a motion to approve the cemetery rate schedule increase.
Second,
All in favor?
I,
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any further discussion? Then the pricing for burial services has been approved. All right, moving on. Review existing snow emergency ordinance and opportunities for improvement.
this is interesting.
Yeah, so I have the matrix that we created up on the board You can see it. Let me zoom in just a little bit here. Oop,
Whoa.
too much. All right, so every year this comes up with the snow, our current snow ordinance when it comes to snow emergencies. You know, if you notice, we are the only municipality that runs it like this. So basically, we can declare snow emergency if there's 3 inches of snow in the forecast or an icing event in the forecast. And when we declare the snow emergency, it's from midnight to 8 a.m. for 3 consecutive nights. And then parking is odd even only between midnight and 8 a.m. So the pros would be basically nothing would change if we kept it the same. The cons are the deficiencies that we see it, and Stoughton PD, we had them go through this as well and kind of get their input on what they're seeing out there. Essentially, we have no control over the snow emergency time frame. It is midnight to 8 a.m. no matter what. So if the snow, let's say the snowstorm comes through and it ends at 10 a.m., we cannot call a snow emergency until midnight. So essentially, this does us no good because we're coming in with full force at 10 a.m. when the cessation of the snow happens and clearing all the streets, but we cannot call a snow emergency. Or the snow emergency does not come into effect until midnight. So essentially does us no good. The sporadic nature of the snow emergency declarations can create confusion for the residents. So when we call a snow emergency, it could be, a few times a year. It could be, one, like last year, the year before, we hardly had any snow. I don't think we called any. This year, we've already called 2 or 3. So it's just that sporadic nature of these snow emergencies that does lead to confusion because, residents are saying, well, what is it again? Even though they can sign up for the snow emergency emails, we put it out on social media, the different news outlets. I will tell you, the news outlets get it wrong sometimes, and we send them the language and they goof it up. Because again, nobody else runs it like this where it's midnight to 8 a.m. for 3 consecutive nights. It is unique just to Stoughton. It's not the norm where residents would kind of think it's a normal thing to do midnight to 8 a.m. for 3 consecutive nights. They aren't thinking that way. Creates a heavy burden on Stoughton PD for enforcement because of the sporadic nature of snow emergencies during the winter months, and residents tend to forget the rules over time, and so that they get a lot of complaints from residents about it, especially when they get a ticket. Cars parked on the street still create a wind roll issue, for residents or the motoring public. So even though it's the odd even one side of the road or the other, we're still going around them and still creating a wind roll that does impact or impede cars sometimes. Most of the time, that third night we don't even come out. We're not using that, so we cancel it typically. So that first night we're out there, doing our thing. That's usually after the storm, the cessation of the storm. We're clearing everything. The second night we're coming back in to do downtown. We also send staff out to get those wind rolls, those parked cars that were moved. That second night, the third night, everybody's spent or hopefully sleeping. So that third night never really comes into play yet. It's still part of the ordinance. Tickets per snow emergency range from $100 to $130 per event. It's Christina, so she dropped off. Sometimes people choose to just pay it. I'm not for gouging people, but we also need to make sure that they're following the rules too. If you notice, we also incorporated the surrounding communities because we have some options later on here in the document on who has this type of snow emergency. Obviously, we're alone in this. Any questions on our current snow emergency ordinance?
How has it worked for your purposes of clearing? Do you find that you have issues with it consistently?
Yeah, parked cars are an issue. I mean, it's every time it's just, it's an obstacle.
Right.
Our trucks are large. They have a wing on them that we have to go around. The other thing too is that we want to get the street cleared and get open for use.
Right.
If cars are parked there and we go around it, that snow sits there for till the next night. Or if they don't move, it's going to sit there for a couple days till we get back there. So it's one of those things that this does not allow us to do our job effectively for them, to get the roads open for the general public. The timing, like I mentioned before, is problematic because it's set in stone. Weather doesn't care about our snow emergency or timing. It's gonna, weather comes when it comes, and we gotta react and be able to adapt to that.
How much are the police spending on this? Because I see may take some burden off of police over time.
Yeah, so especially the first couple storms of the season, they spent a lot of time writing tickets or reminding folks that of our ordinance. The first couple storms are always hundreds of tickets written. Hundreds.
Really? Wow.
Yes, hundreds. And it's just, some of it is, people are gonna do what they do, no matter what type of
Right.
ordinance we have. Others is, it's confusing. They're parked on the wrong side of the road, because keep in mind too, that the even odd nature of the parking rule doesn't start until midnight. So let's say we call a snow emergency and it's gonna start at midnight, and we call a snow emergency and it is Saturday the 8th. But the snow emergency doesn't technically start until midnight, which is the 9th, which is an odd date. So a lot of times they're parking on the even side, but you say, well, you call this snow emergency on Saturday the 8th, which is even. I parked my car at 8 o'clock that night, it was an even number.
Right. Yeah.
But then midnight it switches, because the snow emergency technically doesn't take effect until midnight. So that leads to a lot of confusion, and rightly so. I mean,
Right, nobody's out moving their cars at midnight or
they're
3 a.m.
parked for the night, so they have to think ahead that next night is, or that at midnight, when the date turns, is the side of the road that they have to park on.
Isn't that what Madison does?
Madison, they have even odd, so the isthmus, I think they did some changes this
Or do
year.
they?
But the isthmus area, I believe, and again, this could be wrong, but that area was, I think, even odd all year round. And then we'll get through some of these other options that other municipalities do that we can potentially consider. Again, tonight is just for discussion purposes. We obviously wouldn't want to make any changes now this year until before. If we're making any changes, it should be well ahead of next winter, but nothing obviously right now during this snow season. So other options that we can potentially consider and talk through is seasonal even odd parking from say November 1st to April 1st. This is a common thing with a lot of municipalities. A lot of them do from 12 a.m. to 7 a.m. Again, you're kind of doing this 12 a.m. You got to think about it. However, when it's every night, it does create that consistency.
Right.
So that's the first one. Creates consistency with parking rules for residents. Again, this is not set in stone either, but a lot of municipalities that we listed over here have this type of ordinance. They're very close to it. May take some burden off the police over time as residents become accustomed to the even odd parking program. Would also serve to minimize the street storage over the winter months. Right now, we do have a problem in talking with PD where people leave their cars on the street for days.
Mm-hmm.
They don't move them. We have trailers, RVs, that type of stuff. Believe it or not, boats this time of year. So it could force people to keep moving their cars and open up the roadways. removes the need to even call a snow emergency. So we wouldn't have to call one. If it's even odd, then they're just gonna have to move anyways, just like any other night. Cons, that during times of no snow plowing events, this restriction may create an undue burden on residents. We're always, obviously cognizant of that. Parking restrictions from only midnight to 8 a.m. would not help during events outside of those hours, kind of like our current ordinance. Cars parked on the street still create a windroll around cars that must be cleaned up. It must be cleaned up the next night. So again, that same issue we run into with our current ordinance. And then you can see the municipalities on the right-hand side that currently have this program, or a variation of. And I will mention too that the PD, they liked this option. They just seen that this was more consistent, so they did recommend this option, or reconsider this option. Excuse me. The blue option, any questions about the yellow option or observations or anything?
I guess you might, until people kind of get with the flow, you're gonna have some, maybe confusion again on the even odd on which day, and hey, it's the 8th at 6 p.m. I
Yeah.
gotta, I'm part, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. So that's my question, is what does the communication plan look like?
Yeah.
And
Well,
how does
yeah.
the PD stand for like a grace period?
Yeah.
Once this
Yep.
changes?
Yep, and there would be a marketing blitz and any changes that we made, probably starting sometime in like August, leading up to the snow season. A lot of municipalities have a sign that's readable on the entrance into the city that would outline what the ordinance is during those time frames. And then obviously periodically on Facebook and things like that, our city website. But Facebook seems to be the avenue to really push information. And speaking with the police, they did say that they would because they can start to enforce this stuff outside of the snow
Right,
times.
September, start dropping leaflets or something.
Right,
you know, hey,
that
in
that
2
and-
weeks,
yeah.
whatever.
And if we did start, say, November 1st, and it's, November 1st and 2nd or 3rd, there's no snow, they may just kind of put some cards in windows saying, hey, just a reminder
Mhm.
that this is what's going on. And they did mention doing something like that.
Yeah, it'd be nice.
Okay, so I'd be open to entertaining switching the yellow option, and looking at that, but I think I'd first want to see what the communication plan is and hear from, I guess, the new chief about what kind of grace period they'd be looking at, or what
Yeah.
their
Yeah.
thought of how they'd enforce it would be before we make a decision.
For sure. So just a couple other options just to consider. The blue option would be even on parking from November 1st to April 1st, just like the yellow. And also be called where there is 8 inches of snow or more forecasted, so a large snow event. Again, that 8 inches is something we can discuss, move up or move it up.
I think Christina might have had a question or comment
Go ahead, Christina.
on the yellow.
Yeah, hand up for a hot minute, y'all gotta look for me. Brett, which of these plans do you feel would, impact the amount of time that it takes to, clear when we have a snow emergency,
Yeah.
which obviously is gonna positively impact your budget?
Yeah. So when we get to the green option, from our standpoint, for our operation, it'll be the best. And I'll go through. Maybe we should go through these and then kind of
Sure.
talk through what your guys' thoughts are. Because Christine, the green one's gonna kind of be the one that we would lean towards, or a variation thereof. But again, with any of these, there's pros and cons. There's a cause and effect. So the blue would essentially be kind of that even odd parking November 1st through April 1st, but then also would give us the latitude to call a snow emergency, that all cars have to be off the roadway between a certain time that we would dictate. So again, it allows us to look at the storm and make an adjustment to the time frame that we see fit. So again, creates consistency where the cars have to be moved during times of heavy snowfall. we have a mechanism to get the cars off the road so we can completely clear them. The cons is that during times of snow plowing events, this restriction may create an undue burden on residents. Adding another rule at 8 inches creates another point of confusion potentially for residents, where we have the odd even, but then we also then say, all right, well, now we call a true snow emergency, now you have to get off the road. There's another level of potential confusion there. And then 3 is kind of off to the side here, but cars parked on the street still create windrolls around cars that must be cleaned at night. If you have a 2 or 3 inch snowfall. Another con is that it's not really on here. Is that there are some areas of town that parking is a challenge. One area that comes to mind is the Jackson Street, just west of Kings Lynn, in the apartment area. We have a lot of overflow parking that does happen on the street. We may need to designate certain areas that are exempt from the full snow emergency where it's off the road, but this odd even would still apply. We need to really think through that and make sure it's warranted, and then sign that accordingly. But there are those types of issues that we do need to take into account. Because we're going to get questions. Obviously, is okay. You want these cars off the road, but where am I supposed to go? I don't have a place to put my car. So that does create a problem for some. Others, they do have driveways that they can park in. They choose not to. Or if you have visitors, obviously we have the holidays and the snow season. You may have visitors that time of year that you need to account for. I remember visiting my grandparents up in Chippewa Falls and parking in their front yard. So we had to get off the street, and that was just the way it was. Any questions on that? So the blue is a variation of yellow, so it adds that ability for us to get cars off the roadway with calling a snow emergency. All right, so the green option is that we can essentially call a snow emergency, a true snow emergency with 3 or more inches of snow forecasted, and then we dictate the time frame that we think that we need to get out there and clear the snow. So let's say we have a snowstorm that's in the forecast. All signs are pointing towards the snow is going to be done by, let's say, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. We would call a snow emergency from, let's say, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, just to give us a little buffer, until, let's say, 7 a.m. the next morning, so that we know we're going to get in about 2 o'clock. It's going to take us 8 to 10 hours, and at that time, we'll hand it back over to the residents. But during that time frame, we need all cars off the roadway. Of course, this allows crews to clear the roadway from curb to curb, not leaving windrolls. It provides a much better service to the residents. Removes the potential for hitting parked cars during snowplow events. I mean, I encourage you guys still to go on a ride along with us. It's these things are large vehicles, and that wing hanging off the side is something that we the guys do a great job, but it is something that is another potential risk or liability when cars are parked on the roadway.
Yeah, and some of these roads are not the roomiest.
They're narrow, for sure, for sure.
At least they're on that.
Yeah. So, the cons are for those that have nowhere to park on their property and would need to seek alternate areas to park. However, there are very few properties that this may affect. But again, cognizant that there are some that this would negatively affect, that they just have no place to go. We'll need to kind of work through those areas, work with PD on those types of things, and really think through how we could write that into an ordinance to highlight those areas and be very judicious on how we do that. We can't do that everywhere, but really take a look and say, hey, they have absolutely nowhere to go. We need to make some sort of a accommodation for that. It may put more burden on the PD to enforce this. Let's say especially the first few storms, people are still parked on the roadways and, they're not moving. So they have to go ticket them. Eventually they may have to tow. So there is a potential for more enforcement from the PD to do something like this. Any questions on this one? So the green is all cars off the roadway. Blue is a combination of even odd from November 1st to April 1st with the ability to call a snow emergency after a certain amount of snowfall in the forecast. We have 8 inches, but it could be 4 inches, it could be 6, it could be whatever. We can certainly kind of talk through that. And yellow is just straight up even odd parking from November 1st to April 1st, from midnight to 7 a.m.
So with the yellow option, you're looking at a minimum on something that is a significant snowfall, 2 nights to clear it up. Right?
Yep, be the same type of thing.
And then green opens up the potential to possibly get like, what?
The majority.
90%
Yeah.
or 80% done,
Yeah.
and with a little bit of cleanup the next day or night.
Correct.
I mean, that's attractive from a budgetary perspective.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I mean, me personally, I'd be somewhere with either yellow or green. I think yellow with the consistency of, and especially once this perpetuates into the season, and then especially into the second year,
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna consistently know that in 2 nights, with a few exceptions of people who don't move, you can clear it up.
Yeah.
And the green, I think you'll probably have some flack on the inability to park on the street with those that truly can't.
Yeah.
And then just annoy people that just, for whatever reason, choose not to.
Yeah.
I could see green being a problem for like the funeral home up by
So
me.
that prospect.
Yeah,
So
because this could be during the daytime, right? You're prohibiting.
it could be any time.
Yeah.
I mean, and again, we can't dictate when the storm is, and and there could be certain accommodations for that type of thing. We have to really think through those areas, and that could be one of those
What about
places.
schools, during school days, teachers parking? I mean, I don't, do a lot of
Yeah.
teachers have to park, or
Yeah,
employees park on
keep-
streets?
Keep in mind too that if it's really bad, typically school is called off. Not always,
Yeah.
but typically it does get called off. We're talking significant snowstorms.
Yeah.
These little clippers that have been coming through, 2 days ago, and then we're going to get tonight. We wouldn't call a snow emergency for
But
these
3
types of
inches
things.
isn't that much.
Yeah,
Funeral's gonna go forward.
yeah. Funerals for sure. Yep. Schools, iffy. But yeah, these are all great things to discuss and talk about some of the unintended consequences that could happen with these types of things.
I guess my leaning would be towards the yellow. All things considered, from like the more citizen perspective, consistency is good.
Mm-hmm.
I understand probably the preference and possible benefit on the green, but I don't know if folks would be super thrilled about that.
Sure.
The nice thing about yellow, you don't have the police involved, whereas the green one has the police involved, with possibly.
Yeah, I mean, the police
So-
would be involved with all these just to enforce the ordinance.
Oh, I
but,
see.
But
Yeah.
over time, it creates that consistency where people start to get it. All these are gonna have some sort of police involvement to enforce the ordinance.
And I think the yellow, and of course, our police department ain't out to hammer nobody, so like that first, week or 2 period is just
Yeah.
educational.
Yeah.
And,
And you'd like to hear from the PD, kind of how they would handle
Well,
any.
I like the yellow one. I'm with that. That makes it more conforming with what the other municipalities in the area look like.
well, and clearly, yeah.
I do agree with
Seems
Adam
to be
that,
popular.
green is probably the best if you really wanted to clear snow, but then it adds a bunch of extra steps to it, so I'd lean yellow. But again, if we were to do any change to it, I would want to see the communications plan and hear from the chief.
Mhm.
Yeah, definitely, there's gonna have to be that education blitz, you know, once it passes and put it, you know, where do you put the signage, how frequently do the signs go up, what's the
Yeah.
cost of that as well,
Mhm.
because there's gonna have to be signage.
Yeah.
But I think yellow would be easiest for constituents to grasp the concept of and
Right.
follow easier, just because of like garbage day, and they get to habit of, I know when garbage goes out and I know when it's recycling day, because this is standard in there, and we don't need to have, oh, snow is a-coming, you know,
Yeah.
like they're supposed to just move the cars, and
Right.
I
Yeah,
think
and-
that would,
You know, they're always wondering, well, are they gonna call us to emergency or not, you know, and
Yeah.
a lot of ours is like, well, what's the forecast, you know, and the
Right.
forecast is calling for, you know, 2 to 4 inches, then we get an inch, you know, it's just, well, we
Or you get 2
call
to
us
4 and you
or-
get 6.
Yeah, yeah, right, or we don't call it, so, you know, and we try to err on the side of caution, but then also taking effect that we do take it seriously when we call us to emergency, because it
someone,
affects.
you might be raising your hand again, but you don't have your thing up.
The overlay. There's the overlay.
Yeah, Christine's got her hand up.
Go ahead, Christina.
Thanks. My question is I know that I have been in other communities, Brett, that have sort of year-round signage up as well.
Yep. Yep.
So whatever you decide upon, and my question is does that signage stay up year-round, or is that taken down and put up seasonally?
Yeah, good question. I know Janesville, they have signs at kind of the gateway into the city in various spots, the different gateways. We would do the same thing. I think we would probably remove it and then put it up, let's say in August, September, somewhere in there, just so it's kind of like, oh, hey, there's a sign up now. If you leave some signs up too long, it becomes part of the forest, if
Yeah,
you
it's
will.
just blind.
Yep,
Yeah.
exactly. So it's like, oh, hey, the sign went up. I got a key into that again. So I think we'd probably take it down and put it back up seasonally. That's kind of what's in my head. I just think that it's kind of like, oh, hey, a new sign we got to take a look at. And again, we would leave the bases in. It's easy for us to pop these 2x2 metal posts out and put them back in. So I think we'd probably go that route.
Cool. The other thing that I was gonna ask, I lost my train of thought on, so if I think of it, I'll come back to it. Oh, I know what it was. The big, electronic signs that we have that are programmable, like we could, at the beginning of the season, couldn't those be utilized for this kind of public education?
Yeah.
For the first two, like that, those last 2 weeks of September or whatever.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So, we have the electronic sign being at City Hall, which is just a small strip. I think where this would really come in handy is if we were to still consider that Adams sign, that new location, they would allow us these types of things to put that out as a PSA, keep in mind on, November 1st, parking ordinance changes to X. So that's where that type of sign that's in your face would really come into play. Other than that, we don't really have, a digital sign like that.
They'll have the, what's that, like you put.
I'm sorry. You mean our orange signs,
The
our
mobile,
message
like,
boards?
the construction
Yes,
type
yeah,
of sign.
yes.
Yeah.
The answer is yes. Sorry, yes. Yeah,
Yeah, so I think the education piece and the forewarning of the, hey, this is coming up, I think is pretty easy to accomplish.
Courier hub.
Yeah,
Okay.
everything.
Yeah, that's
Facebook,
all of it.
yeah.
All of it.
So
Yeah.
what would that communication plan look like?
Yeah.
And I think we definitely would need to see that and make adjustments if needed. Because like Christina's got good ideas for that kind of stuff, so if we review that as a committee, I think that'll make it a lot easier.
Yeah, I think also it's important to let the Public Safety Committee weigh in too. Obviously, it impacts them and the PD and they're obviously that's their committee.
No one likes that committee.
You want it?
We love a parking challenge.
Yeah, exactly.
I
That's
think
right.
I think this will ease their enforcement immensely. I mean, it's just straight up every day, every
Over
other
time,
side,
yeah, for sure.
I mean, yeah, you have the growing pains probably the first month of the first year we do it, but after that, I think it's smooth sailing.
Tim, do you got any thoughts on this topic?
Well, I mean, in the past, my biggest thing is I didn't really want to inconvenience people, during the months when there wasn't really an event going on and make them park across the street from their house. But with the technology and the communication plan, I think that makes it a lot better. I mean, 5 years ago, I would have said just stick with what we have, but I'm a little bit more flexible now. I don't like people having to be inconvenienced just to make our job easier because we work for them. But I also understand that, we got a job to do, so, the yellow or blue is a little bit more palatable now than it was to me just a few years ago. And the communication, I think, is kind of the key. I think one of the things we got to make sure is that the technology works because we have people that are signed up to get the alerts, and I think last time when there was a transition, the system failed. So we got to make sure that the people that are already on the list continue to be on there so they're updated.
Yeah, that's another good point too, is that those no emergency mailing lists we wouldn't have to rely on because it's consistent. Right. So right now, again, it goes back to that sporadic, nature of these snow emergencies that leads to confusion and leads to problems. I mean, it's every time we call a snow emergency, the PD gets inundated with calls, so they give the ticket, obviously. With, man, this is confusing, or I wasn't sure, I didn't know I wasn't supposed to park on this side because I parked on the right side when it was called, but then they forget it's midnight.
Right.
Whereas, yellow, granted, it is midnight, but it's more consistent.
Right, they'll learn, it takes them
exactly
2-3 days to figure it out or whatever. And,
Yeah.
My preference would be is if they're parked on the wrong side of the street and it's not snowing, we just issue a warning and not a ticket. I'm really not in the mood to penalize our residents, especially, the ones over by Jackson Street, they can probably least afford it, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
So there's an equity issue with me too.
Yeah.
So that would be my message to the PD on enforcement. Look, if it's not snowing out, just put a note on their windshield and say, hey, by the way, you're parked on the wrong side of the street. If it would have snowed, you would have got a ticket.
Yeah.
Instead of issuing a citation. Now, they might not like that, but that's a conversation that I would have at public safety.
Sure. But they do have some discretion, so, yeah, no, I think,
It's just like the downtown parking. I don't want to, if somebody's going downtown to shop for 2 hours, do we really want to give them a ticket and penalize them for patronizing our downtown? No. I say we have plenty of parking downtown, no harm, no foul. If they go over 2 hours, not a big deal. When I go to another community and if I get a parking ticket, I'm not going back.
Yeah. So keep in mind too that yellow, it's only between midnight and 7 a.m. It just gets them to keep moving. So if you go shopping downtown, none of this would be in effect.
Yeah, and sometimes I wonder if the midnight is what causes the confusion.
It does.
Yeah.
It does.
Just a thought. I don't know if there's a better hour, but I think that's part of the confusion.
Yeah.
I think it'll be okay if we do this, the consistent period.
Yeah.
Because then people will be like, okay, now I get it, versus, you might get 2-3 snow emergencies a year and you can't figure it out each
Right.
time, and,
I think that's where other municipalities around here do this type of thing where it is consistent. We're getting people from other communities around here that come here with they're already kind of trained, so to speak, from other surrounding communities. So we get calls all the time as well. Geez, that's how they do it here. That's how they do it there. And, I get it. I don't like it. I don't like our snow emergency. I think it's clunky. It doesn't work. And I tend to agree with. When I talk about it, I tend to agree with them.
Right.
It is bad.
Well, it's weird because I don't get any calls on it. They're all just calling you, which I'm fine with.
That's, yeah.
Just give them Tim's
Yeah,
number.
yeah, no, but that's
But I
fine.
know as soon as we change it, we're gonna get calls because you know how that goes.
Yeah, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. But I do get emails or calls, and I don't want to say commiserate with them because that's certainly not it. It's more talk about solutions that we can make it better. I want to hear from them on how we can make their life easier, living here, but still do our job and do it well. And a lot of it is honestly, God, a lot of it is why don't you just create a from November 15th to November 1st, even odd until April 1st. I get a lot of that, and I think a lot of it is because they're coming from another community that probably did that type of thing.
Yeah, I mean, it
Well, I
looks
also
like that seems to be pretty popular
Mhm.
with similar sized cities too, so,
Yeah.
and larger.
I think it also, demonstrates the importance of having citizens on their committees, because in the past, we were only looking at it from one lens, and now we have multiple angles at this thing.
Sure.
Yeah, because the strictly bottom line, better option is the green, because you can maybe clear it in a day and you have the flexibility, but I think for maybe a common ground compromise is that yellow. I mean, yeah, it's an inconvenience during the winter, but now you don't have to worry about, am I parked during a snow emergency?
It
So,
certainly creates that consistency, and and we drive past it all the time where you got somebody parked on the road and they have their driveway empty. It happens all the time.
yeah,
So
drive down the Lee Street.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So
It won't be long, and the cars are just gonna move themselves in.
yeah, there you go. So again, tonight was just to kind of get your temperature for what's what's presented here, and I think I'll take your direction, of course, but I think getting public safety involved. Christina, are you the chair?
Yes.
Yeah. I think you
Yes,
are.
I-
Okay. So if that's something that you guys would like to discuss, I'm more than happy to participate. Obviously, there's a transition with the chief. Brandon Hill, he's been involved with our conversations as staff, so they're kind of up to speed on this. But if you'd like to discuss this at your committee, more than happy to come there and talk through with you guys. And then if there's a recommendation, we can come back to this body. I would draft an ordinance, and then present the draft ordinance to you guys and to public safety. Obviously, we don't want both committees approving it, but we want their recommendation to council as a. Here's another option too: is if we had a joint meeting. We've done that in the past where there's kind of a large item that we've gotten together and talked through it as a collective. I'm not sure if that's something you guys have entertained.
I think that would be a good idea, because I believe that we have another agenda item that we'd like to discuss with you guys, and that's 4th Street, now that it's been redone.
Parking?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, if you guys wanted to entertain that, I'm not sure if we'd move to your night or their night or.
I'm on both nights.
Oh.
What day,
So
of
is
the- what day of
Christina.
the week is it?
They do Wednesday nights,
Which Wednesday?
the third Wednesday.
It's usually the third,
It's the
like,
fourth.
this month we're the 4th.
Because third Wednesday would be yesterday.
Yeah,
Is it
but
separate
we're-
weeks? 'Cause we're the third Thursday.
No, we're on a weird, because it's, the first was a Thursday.
Yeah, but.
Yesterday was the second Wednesday.
Right, but we're the third Thursday no matter what.
Third Wednesday is next week.
Yeah.
But typically it lines up, okay.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fairly flexible, and so I don't have nothing going on. Obviously, it's,
So essentially, like
matter.
February, instead of being Thursday, it'd be Wednesday that same week, right? If you're good with that, Christina, next month, if we move to your night at your Where do you guys meet?
February 18th.
The public safety building.
We meet in,
Okay,
Con-
that'd be a better place to meet. So if you're okay with that, we'd combine our agendas for the February meeting on that Wednesday.
I like that.
Okay,
I'm available.
great.
That's the police station, that's it.
Yeah, council chamber. Okay, great. Awesome. Now, there's no need for any motions or anything on this. It was just for
I
discussion.
think you got good marching orders to move
Yeah.
forward with.
Yeah. Great.
Great, future agenda items. Brett,
Tree pod burials.
Okay. Got it. Got it.
Do we want to
Special for-
explore both cremated remains and mummified remains?
I think just in general, yeah.
Yeah.
Why not?
I
Yep.
didn't know that you could actually bury your body with a tree. I would have just assumed it would have been a cremated.
Yeah, and after you were talking about it, it did strike me as that most of them are a full burial where you are wrapped in a cloth of material that's,
Like a tree
biodegradable.
that has like the burlap sack
Yeah,
to
Yeah.
hold the roots all together, now throw a human body in there.
yeah, 'cause it does use your nutrients to,
I might
with the
sign up
tree.
for that.
Yeah.
Get my plot. I'm glad to be a tree.
Yeah, so
Maybe
we
not
have
downtown.
26 of them, so we can.
You can sell those for a pretty penny.
Yeah. Oh, Jordan. All right, I got that.
I've had an eventful day.
Yeah, all right. And then we'll just keep the review the parking configuration waiting works. We were working on design work on that.
Is that one they were talking about with the back end parking
Yeah,
potentially? Or-
yeah, that one. And so again, it's just here so we don't lose track of it, but that is in design, and we'll probably be bidding that probably more towards like May. So the next couple of months we'll be needing to talk through that. And then the Adam signs, we're just waiting on planning to update their ordinances to make them so they are legal.
right, motion to adjourn,
So moved.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, have a good evening.